So, Star Wars Battlefront. We don't have a huge amount of information about this game yet, but there has been a few sort of interviews done with various members of the DICE development team, and of course there are rumours as well. So I kind of wanted to round up everything that we know so far into this video. And I'm going to start with an article that was done by IGN a couple of weeks ago. The article itself is sort of conducted as an interview with Nicholas Fagreus, who is the design director for Star Wars Battlefront, and he goes into a little bit of detail about some of the maps that will be available. He mentions both Hoth and Endor being two of the locations, but what he goes into detail about is that the maps and modes will change quite a lot depending on the location. So on Hoth it's rather an open expanse of icy tundra, where the Rebel Alliance fight off the AT-ATs in the films. I can imagine that being a much more open scale map, a much larger area, perhaps with its own game mode. And then you have the sort of dense woodland of Endor, which might be a little bit more frantic infantry action instead. And he does actually go on to say that the decision has been made to tailor specific maps to specific game modes. Now the last time we saw that, well, with a game that was made by DICE anyway, was back in Bad Company 2, where certain maps only had Rush available and certain maps only had Conquest available. So it's really nice to see that that design choice has been put into Star Wars Battlefront, and I ultimately think it makes a great deal of sense. It means that you're not going to be playing a game mode on a map that wasn't designed for it. If you put it in sort of the mind of Battlefield 3, trying to play Conquest on Metro, you just become locked in the middle, and it doesn't really suit that map. Play Rush on that map, and it does work. So you can see the design choice they've gone for. I think it's really important, especially with a game like Star Wars Battlefront that's got a massive following behind it already. I think it was a good choice. Along with the interview article, a small piece of concept art was released at the same time. This here shows off the planet of Endor, and you can see the dense woodland that we were talking about earlier. There's a couple of things in there that I think are worth highlighting. So you can see down in the bottom left hand corner, you can see two of the rebel soldiers. One's a female, which I think is quite important. It would be nice to see playable female soldiers in the final game. That would be good fun. But you can see that one of them's holding like a pistol and the other one's holding like a rifle with a scope on the top of it. Doesn't really show off a huge amount, but maybe that's something that we'll get to play with in the game. Over on the right hand side of the picture, you can see two stormtroopers, one of them throwing what looks like a grenade, an AT-ST with bullets flying out of it. Be really cool if we could jump in those and sort of move them around the map. That would be quite cool. Big explosion going off behind. I'm not really too sure what that could be. I wouldn't really want to make a guess either. And in the very top left hand corner of the picture, you can just about make out an Ewok platform as well. Moving on from the concept art and the IGN article, we're going to look at some rumours. Now from this point onwards, nothing is really confirmed, but I kind of wanted to give you this information because it seems to be coming from a fairly reliable source, at least in the past anyway. The fan site Making Star Wars has published this long list of leaks for the upcoming multiplayer and single player. So I'm going to pick out some of the most important things here, and I'll link the article that VG247 made in the description so you can go and have a quick look. But mainly, for the story, you're going to be focusing on the original trilogy as your sort of setting for it, but you will be able to play all the way through the Star Wars, well, what can we call it, campaign maybe? All 6 films will incorporate into the single player, but most of it will focus around the original trilogy. You're going to be able to take control of both sides of the fight, so looking at the Republic, the Old Republic, and the Rebellion, and then moving to the bad guys, or the dark side, the Separatists, and the Empire. Now, as I mentioned, most of it is going to take place in the original trilogy, but two highlights that they've mentioned are that you will be able to take part in a couple of the battles from Attack of the Clones, and the opening fight from Revenge of the Sith. Let's talk about multiplayer. You're going to be able to play 64-player battles going from space to land, but that will only be available for certain game modes. You'll be able to play 32 players each side, which sounds really cool and kind of fits in line with DICE games that have been made before, like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Apparently, there will be a hero system in place. Now, this kind of sounds like what we had in Battlefront 2, but as you accumulate points during the multiplayer, you'll be able to unlock these like hero character skins that then you'll be able to play with. Sounds kind of cool, but I kind of want to see that in action if it's going to happen. If it is quite similar to Battlefront 2, I could see a lot of people being disappointed with that, because it hasn't really evolved that much. In terms of downloadable content, expect it to be extremely aggressive, as it's been quoted. Up to 5 DLC packs are going to be coming for the game, and the first one is due out before the end of 2015. Now, with the game set to drop around October-November, that doesn't leave a huge amount of time for that first bit of DLC to drop. Does mean you're going to get something extra before Christmas though. Each DLC drop will be themed, and it's rumoured to have the first 2 or 3 of them being exclusively based around the new film The Force Awakens. And with me mentioning that, the game will ship with characters from The Force Awakens already in it, but some of them won't be added until later DLC. Things like the characters in the trailers apparently are supposed to be available at launch, and sort of new versions of the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter will be in there too. So anything that has already been put out about the film is likely to be included in the game, and then with DLC packs coming out after the release of the film, that's when we'll start to see some more Force Awakens themed stuff making its way in. The DLC packs themselves are rumoured to contain at least 3 multiplayer maps, new hero characters, and new vehicles and ships. Kind of fits in with what DICE tend to do for DLC drops, so that does make sense. Oh, and one more thing, I forgot to mention this in the single player part, but it's quite important. Towards the end of the campaign, there will be a section that sort of takes place before and during the events of The Force Awakens. But hopefully, and apparently this is quite a key point, it's not going to reveal too much, and we shouldn't expect it to either. They don't want to dump any spoilers in there because the film is due to come out about a month after the game release. And there we have it. I think that's about everything you guys need to know about Star Wars Battlefront right now. Don't forget, apart from the IGN interview at the start, all of this is unconfirmed rumour at the moment, but it has come from a fairly reliable source, so I just thought I'd keep you updated. Star Wars Battlefront is something that I will be featuring on my channel and running it alongside my normal Battlefield content. It just makes sense, and I'm really hyped for the game. But anyway, thank you very much for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, if you could leave me a rating, that'd be fantastic. And leave me some comments too. But until next time, my name is Westy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.